If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns quarterback situation just got a whole lot messier, and trust me, it wasn't. Simple to begin with, you'd think bringing in for quarterbacks this offseason would clarify things. But no, somehow, it's added more confusion than answers. The Browns signed veterans Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and spent draft capital onto rookies Dillon Gabriel and the ever-polarizing Shedeur Sanders. Now, on paper, that might look like a team preparing for life without Deshaun Watson. Logical. Right, for new QBS. Sounds like insurance policies stacked on insurance policies. But here's where it gets murky. Despite Watson tearing his Achilles last season and suffering a major setback in January, the Browns still haven't ruled him out for 2025. Not officially, not even with all this new blood under center. That raises the question, what exactly is Cleveland doing here? Let's not sugarcoat it. Deshaun Watson was brought in to be the guy, the face of the franchise, the man to finally lift the Browns out of decades of quarterback mediocrity. They gave him a historic contract, fully guaranteed, and in return, well, let's just say the return on investment hasn't come close to what ownership envisioned. And yet, despite injuries and off-field baggage, the organization clings to hope. According to Cleveland.com Mary Kay Cabot, the Browns are staying in that never-say-never camp when it comes to Watson's 2025 return. Linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he's been ruled out with a neck injury, but Watson, they're leaving. The door cracked open. Maybe it's optimism, maybe it's delusion. Either way, it's complicating things for everyone involved. And it's not like Watson's in the background twiddling his thumbs. He's been active in the QB room, in the film sessions, mentoring the new guys. By all accounts, he's been a vocal, supportive teammate. That's a great look, especially for a player often criticized for being distant or disconnected. He's cheering on the guys fighting for his job. And he's taken a particular interest in helping the two rookies Gabriel and Sanders, who are trying to prove they belong. That kind of leadership is what you want to see from your franchise quarterback. But here's the twist. The better job he does as a mentor, the more awkward things get. Because what happens if one of those guys lights it up and takes the team deep into the season? What do you do with Watson then? There's no easy answer here. Joe Flacco brings the experience and postseason poise. He's calm, composed, and battle-tested. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, is still trying to prove he belongs as a full-time starter. Then you have Gabriel and Sanders, both incredibly talented, but raw, unproven at the NFL level. For quarterbacks, you'd think the Browns would have some clarity on the pecking order, but nope. Instead, we've got a situation where any of the four could plausibly start week 1, depending on who shows out in camp. Add in the Deshaun Watson wild card, and it's like watching a soap opera. No one really knows what's going to happen next, and that uncertainty, it's bleeding into every level of the organization. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders for a second, because his presence alone has people talking. He's not just a rookie, he's Deion's kid. He's got swagger, confidence, and an audience already tuned in thanks to his college exploits and social media presence. That's a lot of noise for a fourth-string rookie to bring into a locker room. But he's not treating this like some redshirt season. By all reports, he's grinding. He's diving into the playbook, putting in overtime, and pushing to prove he belongs. And guess who's been in his corner? Watson, helping him learn the ropes, showing him how to prep like a pro. It's admirable, but again, it makes you wonder. Is Deshaun grooming his replacement? Or just keeping the seat warm until he's ready to reclaim his throne? From the outside, this might look like the Browns being overly cautious. But when you read between the lines, it starts to feel more like a franchise trying to protect a $230 million investment. They don't want to shut the door on Watson because doing so would mean admitting defeat, and let's be real, that contract is an albatross. There's no trading him, no cutting him without eating an astronomical cap hit. So maybe keeping him involved, even if he's not healthy enough to play, helps maintain some kind of value. Maybe it's psychological, maybe it's strategic, or maybe they're just hoping he gets healthy enough to justify keeping him around a little longer. That being said, this situation doesn't just affect Watson, it impacts the entire quarterback room. How do you focus when the shadow of the real starter looms over everything? These guys are competing, working, trying to seize their moment. But there's always that question, what if Watson returns? That doubt chips away at leadership. It disrupts continuity, and for a team like the Browns trying to build chemistry, trust, and momentum, that's a dangerous game to play. You can't develop a quarterback room and simultaneously keep it in limbo. At some point, a decision has to be made. And dragging it out only adds more stress to a position already under constant scrutiny. It's also a health risk. Let's not forget we're talking about a quarterback coming off a major Achilles injury. That's no joke. It ends careers. And even if Watson miraculously makes it back mid-season, would it really be smart to throw him behind center? One bad hit, one wrong step, and not only could you lose him again, but you might also make things worse long-term. What's the upside? Is it worth derailing the momentum of a new starter just to squeeze a few games out of your franchise QB? That's the kind of decision that can backfire spectacularly, and with this kind of depth in the room, it feels unnecessary. So, here's the bottom line. The Browns need to pick a direction. Either commit to Watson's long-term recovery and let the new guys take over for now, or roll the dice on a premature return and risk everything in the process. There's no middle ground here. Playing it safe might not be flashy, but in a division where every win counts, stability matters, and right now, the Browns are anything but stable. They've got 4 quarterbacks auditioning for one role, and a 5th hovering in the background with a golden contract and a surgically repaired leg. That's not a quarterback room, it's a reality show waiting to happen. Maybe this all works out. Maybe Gabriel or Sanders takes the leap and becomes the Browns' next big thing. Maybe Flacco holds the fort like a pro, or Pickett finally figures it out. But holding out hope that Watson swoops in to save the day feels more like wishful thinking than a real plan. The Browns owe it to themselves and their fans to stop waiting for what might be and start building on what is, because if this season starts to unravel, the blame won't fall on Watson. It'll fall on the decision makers who refuse to read the writing on the wall. And in Cleveland, where patience is already running thin, that might be a price to pay. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world has been turned upside down with a bombshell that no one saw coming. Aaron Donald, one of the most dominant defensive players in league history, has been officially unveiled as the newest member of the Cleveland Browns. That's right, you heard it correctly, the Browns. This move, as surreal as it sounds, has already sparked debates across the league, and while the announcement may seem definitive, the way this deal came together is still shrouded in speculation, whispers, and a few raised eyebrows. If this truly is the next chapter in Donald's career, it's one that could reshape not only the AFC North, but also the entire power dynamic of the NFL. What we're witnessing could very well be the birth of a new superpower or a massive gamble gone rogue. Sources close to league insiders claim that the Browns had been quietly working behind the scenes for weeks, maybe even months, crafting what some are calling an unprecedented agreement. While the official details remain closely guarded, what's emerging is the narrative of a team willing to go all in financially, strategically, and emotionally to secure the services of a generational talent. Remember, Aaron Donald had retired, or at least that's what we all thought, after stepping away from the game following a Hall of Fame-worthy career with the Los Angeles Rams. He had seemingly closed the book on one of the most dominant defensive careers we've ever seen. But, as with everything in sports, never say never. What's most intriguing in this developing saga is the speculated nature of the deal itself. Rumors are flying that the Browns didn't just lure Donald back with a jaw-dropping salary figure. Some insiders are suggesting this agreement includes unique personal incentives, creative cap maneuvering, and possibly even post-retirement consulting opportunities. If true, this would be one of the most forward-thinking packages ever offered to a player, let alone one who was already out of the league. It suggests that Cleveland sees this not just as a player acquisition, but as a cultural shift, a statement of intent that screams, we're not just here to compete, we're here to win it all. Now let's talk about why Donald would even consider this move. The man had nothing left to prove. Super Bowl champion, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, universally feared and respected, so why come back? And why Cleveland, of all places? According to early whispers from within the Browns locker room, the team culture has undergone a transformation in the last year, with a strong defensive core already in place led by Myles Garrett. Adding Donald might not just make them elite, it could make them historically terrifying. Could it be that Donald, watching from the sidelines, saw a fire burning in Cleveland and decided he wanted to fan those flames one last time? This move also poses serious questions about the state of the NFC versus AFC arms race. The balance of defensive power may be shifting eastward, If Donald truly brings his usual form, we're potentially looking at a Cleveland defense that could rival the 2000 Ravens or the '85 Bears in terms of fear factor. Just imagine quarterbacks in the AFC North Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and even Russell Wilson having to face a front line featuring Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald on the same side. That's not just disruptive, that's borderline illegal. Game plans are going to be rewritten, offensive coordinators will lose sleep, and the rest of the league will be watching, cautiously, perhaps even enviously, of course. Not everyone is buying it just yet. Some skeptics are calling this a publicity stunt, a PR masterstroke to get eyes on Cleveland during the offseason. And they may have a point. We haven't seen Donald suit up yet. And without official contract numbers, there's still room for doubt. Could this be a case of the Browns leaking info to stir hype, test fan reactions, or even distract from other, less favorable headlines? Could Donald still back out? There's no clear answer. But what we do know is that the Browns have never been afraid to shake things up. In the last decade, sometimes the great success, sometimes the chaotic failure. But let's assume, for the sake of argument, that this is real and Donald is truly back in pads this season. Then the ripple effect across the league could be massive. Other teams with aging stars may start looking into similar comeback strategies. Players like J.J. Watt, who've hinted at missing the game, could feel tempted to return under the right conditions. Could we be entering an era where retirement is just another chapter, not the final word? The Browns may have just opened a door that other franchises will now rush to walk through. If they can afford it, that is. There's also a locker room angle to consider. Bringing in a player of Donald's stature isn't just about sacks and pressures. It's about leadership, legacy, and setting a standard. The Browns' younger defensive talents will now get to learn from arguably the best to ever do it at his position. That kind of presence in practice alone is worth millions. And if Donald steps in with the hunger and focus we've seen from him throughout his career, expect his influence to elevate the entire team's mentality. This isn't just a player move, it's a mindset upgrade. Fans, of course, are split. Cleveland's faithful are ecstatic, flooding social media with jersey mock-ups, highlight reels, and wild Super Bowl predictions, but others are urging caution, especially given Donald's time away from the field and the potential risk of injury or diminished impact. Still, the buzz is undeniable, and even if it's just for one season, one playoff run, one last war cry, this could be the spark that finally turns Cleveland from a perennial underdog into a feared titan. Whether this ends in confetti or catastrophe, one thing's for sure: the NFL just got a lot more interesting. So buckle up, folks. We may be on the cusp of one of the most unexpected and thrilling chapters in recent NFL history. Aaron Donald in orange and brown. It sounds like fan fiction, but it just might be real life. Keep your eyes on Cleveland, because if this move plays out the way it's being whispered behind closed doors, the Dawg Pound might not just be barking this year, they might be biting, tearing through offenses and rewriting the script of what we thought was possible in today's NFL. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!